Only the wise listens and acknowledges. That quote, it really hits you, doesn't it? It makes you stop and think. Have you ever really considered what it means to listen wisely? I mean, truly wisely.
Yeah, and how different that is from just, well, hearing noise.
Exactly, just letting sounds wash over you.
Absolutely. And that quote, it kind of gets right to the heart of what we're digging into today.
Right.
We've pulled together some fascinating bits from Scripture, Proverbs, Psalms, that really contrast these two ways of, engaging with what we hear and how that shapes our whole understanding.
Okay, so this deep dive is about exploring that contrast then, using these ancient texts.
Precisely. We're looking at verses that talk about attentive, humble listening.
Okay.
And others that critique, well, let's call it less constructive listening habits. The goal is figuring out what makes the difference. Wisdom versus maybe foolishness.
Right, extracting those key insights.
And for anyone listening who wants to, grasp things quickly but deeply, get those aha moments, understanding these distinctions, it can be super helpful. It sharpens how you listen in your own life, how you figure out what's true for you.
Makes sense. Okay, so let's start with the wise listener. What does that look like according to these sources?
Well, the first clear link is between listening and learning, actually gaining something.
Okay.
Proverbs 1.5 says it pretty directly. A wise man will hear and will increase learning.
So the act of hearing, properly hearing, leads to growth.
Exactly. It fuels it. And tied into that, interestingly, is humility.
Humility. How so?
Well, think about it. Wise listening seems to involve admitting you don't know everything. There's always more to learn.
Ah, right. Openness.
Yeah. Proverbs 12.15 contrasts it well. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but the wise person, they listen to counsel.
He that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise. Yeah. If you're already sure you're right.
Then why bother really listening? What's the point?
That totally clicks. And there's practical advice too, right?
Yeah.
James 1.19.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. Be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath.
Swift to hear. It sounds like a conscious effort, like prioritize taking things in before jumping in.
A deliberate posture. Receptivity. And it's not just about hearing things you agree with either.
What do you mean?
Well, Ecclesiastes 7.5 goes even further. It says, "It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of fools."
Wow. So wise listening even values criticism if it's from a wise source.
It seems so. Understanding that even tough feedback can be valuable, a course correction.
So practically that means
Yeah.
like actually focusing when someone's talking, not just planning your response.
Exactly that. Resisting that urge to formulate your rebuttal while they're still speaking. Just absorb, understand their intent first.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, this is where it gets really interesting for me. The flip side, the foolish listener.
Right. It's not about physical hearing ability, obviously. It's the why. Their motivation seems totally different.
And Proverbs 18.2 seems to nail this.
I think so. A fool hath no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself.
Discover itself. So they're listening to hear themselves reflected back, to find validation.
That's how it reads. It's like listening through a filter of, how does this confirm what I already think? The focus is inward.
Not outward towards, new information or another perspective.
Precisely. And unfortunately, as Jeremiah 9 points out, this can lead to, well, actively twisting words.
Twisting words, like deliberate misinterpretation?
Yeah, the text talks about bending tongues to lies, deceitful speech. Maybe today that looks like reading an email in the worst possible light because you already dislike the sender.
Instead of trying to get their actual meaning? Yeah, I can see that. And King David apparently felt this personally in the Psalms.
Oh, absolutely. Psalm 56.5. You can almost hear the frustration. Every day they wrest my words. All their thoughts are against me for evil.
Wow, wrest my words like they're physically distorting them.
Yeah. Listening not to understand, but to find ammunition, to weaponize what he said.
Which makes that other proverb, Proverbs 26.5, kind of challenging, doesn't it? The one about answering a fool.
Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit. Yeah, that's a tricky one.
So sometimes you have to push back to correct the distortion.
It seems to suggest that, yeah. To prevent that twisted version from becoming accepted truth, maybe? If you don't challenge it, they just become more convinced they're right.
So it's strategic, not about stooping to their level, but about shedding light on the flawed thinking.
That's one way to interpret it, definitely.
Yeah.
And then there's Isaiah 29.13, which adds another layer.
What's that one about?
It talks about people drawing near with their mouths, honoring with their lips, but have removed their heart far from me. It's about outward appearance versus inner reality.
Lip service.
Exactly. Someone can look like they're listening, even say the right things, but their heart, their actual intention and understanding, isn't there at all.
So, pulling this all together, the big difference between wise and foolish listening, it's not really about smarts, is it?
Doesn't seem like it. It's more about the heart's orientation, the intention behind the listening.
Right. Are you genuinely trying to understand?
Or are you just looking for ammo or for validation? Like Proverbs 12.15 hinted, not assuming you know it all. James 1.19, be quick to hear.
Yeah. And the foolish listener, like we saw in Proverbs 18.2 and Psalm 56.5, they listen to reply, to twist things.
To serve their own agenda.
And that inward focus, it can cause real problems, right? Like false accusations.
It definitely seems connected. The text suggests that those who twist words often end up accusing others of their own failings, bearing false witness, misjudging, deceit. It's all tangled up.
Okay, so let's talk outcomes. What are the results of these two different approaches?
Well, the texts paint a pretty clear picture. Wise communication, the kind built on that humble, attentive listening.
Yeah.
It tends to lead towards peace, towards understanding, connection.
Makes sense. If you're really trying to hear someone, you build bridges.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas foolish communication, driven by that pride and the need to distort.
That just breeds conflict.
Right.
Division, strife.
Almost inevitably. If the goal isn't mutual understanding, you're just building walls.
And it all comes back to that core idea of wisdom needing humility, a willingness to be corrected.
That seems absolutely central. Being open to learning, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it challenges you.
And Proverbs 9.9 ties it all together.
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. That sense of reverence, perhaps. Approaching knowledge in others with a certain humility before something greater.
Okay, so to kind of wrap this up, the big takeaway.
I'd say it's this core distinction, wise listening. It's marked by humility, genuine curiosity, wanting to learn, careful thought. Foolish listening, driven by pride, needing to be right, needing validation, and often twisting things to fit that need.
Leading to distortion.
Exactly. Misrepresentation of truth.
So here's something for everyone listening to maybe chew on, thinking about all this. Where might our own listening habits, maybe in really subtle ways we don't even notice, where might they lean towards just wanting validation instead of truly seeking understanding?
Ooh, that's a good question. A challenging one.
Yeah. And if we notice that tendency, what's maybe the first small step we could take, to cultivate a more wisely listening heart in our day-to-day conversations?
It's definitely worth reflecting on. How do we really show up when others are speaking? What's our true intention when we listen?